Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Mick Parkin, how are you doing, mate? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing good, mate. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Whereabouts are you at the moment?
I'm just in the house now. I just finished training, so I rushed home to do this.
You were looking over there, like, where am I? Am I in the house? Am I somewhere else? What's going on?
No, it's tilted. I've got you tilted good now, but I feel like any little movement could knock it off, so I'm trying to be perfectly balanced here.
Which is probably very delicate for a heavyweight like yourself, not to just make it all go. That's right.
Definitely.
If we start looking at the ceiling, we know what's happened.
Yeah.
But Mick, what we like to do is start by just asking you kind of where you grew up, and if that was an area where you felt like being tough or dealing with confrontation was something that you had to get used to very quickly.
Yeah. So I'm from Sunderland, in the northeast of England. I'm from like a small, well, it used to be classed as a village, Castletown it was called. It was all like mining village. I'm talking years ago now. It's more like a little town village now. But yeah, it's definitely got a lot better now as I've got older. But I was younger, it was quite rough, I'd have said, like council estate, like I'm trying to think, like I don't want to make it sound like terrible, because it wasn't terrible, because I knew all the people growing up. Was quite close knit. It was definitely like I would class most people were classed as a rougher estate. It wasn't a lot to do. I feel like everybody either just played football as kids, or there was a boxing gym, you would go to boxing gyms, or you'd be on the streets. That was really realistically it what we had. So wasn't great for kids and stuff. They tried to do stuff with the older I got, like they put on like youth clubs and football, stuff like that. But mainly it was like hanging around like the streets and stuff like that. It wasn't a great deal to do when you were younger and stuff like that.
And when it comes to your size, being a heavyweight, when you were younger, did you get pulled into more fights, or were you avoided a lot more? Because, you know, I'm sure that if someone was starting something and you were in a group of mates, they'd probably look at you and go, oh, maybe not that one.
Yeah, so I've been pretty big since I was like, I haven't really grew since I was like 14. You know, I've always been pretty big.
You were 6'4" at 14.
I was like, I remember going into like comp when I was like year 7. I was like 6 foot, so I was quite tall. And then I reckon from 14, 15, I probably stopped this height. And all my friends caught with us when them started going to college and stuff like that. But no, I was never into fights and stuff like that. Me in school, maybe it was my size put people off. I feel like I'm quite good chatter, so I'm trying to like de-escalate confrontation.
Oh, so that's worse. So I mean, you had the size and everything, but you still were someone that was like, if confrontation's brewing, I'm going to try and de-escalate it rather than deal with it physically.
Yes, definitely. I would try to de-escalate. Even when I was younger, my friends, and like I'd never got into fights and stuff like that. But if there was like no onion bars and that, and there's like a few group of lads, I'd always be like, lads, we'll just leave it and just go. I've never been one for fighting and stuff like that.
That's so interesting.
How did you go from that sort of mindset of not being, interested in scrapping, to all of a sudden finding yourself in a gym surrounded by people that wanted to scrap with you? How did that sort of, journey into combat sports happen?
So I probably did little bits of, like I say, amateur boxing, nothing like no fights. Now when you go, maybe train once or twice a week, the odd gym, go on the bags. I've done stuff like that. When I was about 15, my 2 best friends really trained at a local jiu-jitsu gym and like did kickboxing. And by this point, I was probably just like playing football a little bit, like in the Sunday league team. And I always got like, I'm really said, oh, why don't you go and try the jiu-jitsu gym? And I was always like, oh, yeah, I would. And then like never. I mean, I started with my 2 friends, and it was basically at first more like just a laugh with your friends, like a few young kids go there. It was like obviously blokes. It was like quite good cracking that and start training. Then I'd start by like maybe 2-3 times a week training. Then I'd start like upping it, while the point where I was training every night after school. And then obviously try to train as much as possible. And then I enjoyed it really, the training. It wasn't about the fighting. I didn't think I had my first fight when I was like, I had a kickboxing fight when I was like 19. So it didn't really interest us at first. Like I said, I was pretty soft, so like everybody in my full family were quite shocked really. They were like, he's too soft to fight really. And then I was about 19, I trained quite a lot, and I was thinking, I'll just do one, like sort of people asking. A few of my friends had a fight. So I did a kickboxing fight. probably said I enjoyed it. Then I started thinking, oh, I'll try a few more. And the more I did my first MMA fight, I was probably like 21. I'm at MMA, I think. And then I just started liking it, enjoying it. And then I thought, oh, I'm pretty half decent at this fight, and let's see where I can go. And then obviously the UFC now.
But before
That's so funny. That's just so funny. You're like your family going, he's a bit soft. He ain't going to do that. And then you're in the UFC. You're in literally the Ultimate Fighting Championship after being like, Mick's a bit soft. We ain't going to worry about him fighting. That's hilarious.
I mean,
yeah, definitely. Everyone thought like I was probably still classed as soft now, but as a kid growing up, I fighting and stuff like that. I was never around fighting and stuff like that. I just enjoyed the actual training part and like being around it. And then obviously I love fighting now. Do you know what I mean? I love the sport. But yeah, definitely at first I remember me family must have asked me at the gym like, oh, will he be good? He was like, oh yeah, he's good, but he never did anything with it because he's quite like soft. And that was when I was like 15, 16. And then obviously I did all right.
But before you got to the UFC, Mick, I read something that we know that a lot of fighters that we've interviewed on here, like British fighters, have gone through the kind of Cage Warriors route, which seems to be the sort of go-to route to try and get into the UFC in the UK. And he said that you spoke to the matchmaker. I presume that was Ian Dean.
Yeah.
And there wasn't anything available for you. Is that just because Cage Warriors are a bit light on the heavyweight scene, or?
Yeah. So yeah, I remember my training partners, the lightweights, James Hendon, who was on Cage Warriors, and like my friend Justin Burlinson were fighting on Cage Warriors. So I was going to quite a lot of the shows, like cornering them and stuff like that. Now I was struggling to get matched up at heavyweight on the local scenes. My coach Andrew Fisher's got a show called Rise and Conquer, and he would get his odd match on there, but he was having to pay the opponents quite a lot and fly them over and stuff like that. And I'd after other shows, I was having to pay them my purse. It wasn't a great deal, but I was offering my wages as well to fight. So I pulled in there. I remember really sat beside on the coach that was taking it to the show. I said, "Oh, you're gonna put us on in heavyweights?" And he was like, "Look, I'm not saying you're not good enough. I'm not saying that at all. But he's like, we need 20 fighters to make it a division." He's like, "Could you really name 5 heavyweights in the UK?" And I was like, He was like, obviously they had Tom Aspinall on, but I think it's because the UFC really, really wanted him. So they struggled to get him matched up as well. So he was like, maybe he's in a few years and stuff like that. But didn't have I think they've got heavyweights now, but didn't at the time. And he was like, there's just not many of them. So, and the ones who are half decent get signed to bigger shows straight away. So he was quite honest with us, I get on well with that Ian Dean. So I spoke to him and he was like, it's got nothing against you, it's just there's not enough guys.
Yeah.
So that was a struggle because I knew Cage always to put shows on quite high level and it was constant. So you get matched up. So now I had to do the other route of going to local shows, fighting people with maybe not great records, but just anybody I could really. And then obviously I was lucky enough to get the Contender Series shout.
That's amazing that you were like, you've got to pay some of your wages to the person who you're fighting because there's just such a lack of heavyweights to fight. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, you must have been fuming.
Well, I understand why people were doing it because as a heavyweight, if you get 5, 6, 7-0 undefeated, you can go straight to the bigger shows and start making decent money. So I understand a lot of people must be thinking what's the risk of taking hard fights on the local scene to get knocked back maybe 1 or 2 years. I understand why people did it. But yeah, I was going to shows and I'm just they can have my don't get me wrong, it was a great deal. It was £300. I was maybe getting a show £500, not a great amount. But just offer them my wages and stuff like that, and they would fly in people from abroad usually. I've got a few Polish guys, or like I said, it didn't have the greatest of records, but it wasn't everybody I talked to. I was they would say, "Oh, Mick's decent, good, but he hasn't fought anybody." But I was I'm trying. There's nothing I can really do. And obviously, I was I think 5-0 as a pro when the Contender Series got in contact with. It was through Paul Craig because it's always training now. They messaged Paul Craig's gym and said, "Is there any heavyweights or bigger guys?" And he says, "Oh, not at our gym, but there's Mick who would train with down in the northeast." And I looked at it. I think I got matched originally, and it says, "Oh, we'll try to get it at a later date." Then they got back with us straight away and says, "Oh, you've got to fight for August on the Contender Series." So
amazing.
It was great, and it was feel.
Oh, it was obviously nervous at first. You went from wanting to fight on the big shows to getting to the biggest show. Really, I felt like I didn't have the middle step of going to a Cage Warriors, which is a big show feel, but you maybe it's not in them crazy crowds or what other people had. I was fighting in Rise and Conquer and stuff like that, there might be like 1,000 people there, maybe it's a few less, a few hundred. So, but obviously I knew the Contender Series, there wasn't a crowd anywhere. It was just, I don't know how many holds, a couple of hundred maybe. So yeah, it was a bit surreal, but I was training with really good guys at the time, and I was like doing okay with them, stuff like that. So I was always confident when I started fighting people who were better, but I was pretty decent. But like people didn't know I could have like fell at the first hurdle, and they were like, "Oh well, it's just because he's been fighting easier fights." But then after like I won the Contender Series fight, a lot of people were like, "Oh, he gassed or whatever, he made a mistake." And obviously I got a fight in the UFC, and I feel like I beat a decent guy there. While people maybe is looking out and think, "Oh, he's half decent. He wasn't just like beating people and then would fall." So I feel like people can't really say I haven't fought anybody now. So the last two opponents were definitely tough opponents.
Well, you mentioned the Contender Series there and your UFC debut, and I'm always interested to know, you know, there's different types of fights, aren't they? Contender Series is that one fight where it's all riding on that one moment. Do you get the contract or not? Whereas your UFC debut, particularly for yourself, I mean, it was hardly an Apex show. It was at the sold out O2 in London. I mean, what's the difference in terms of your nerves going into it, and which one is more nervous? Is it that one shot chance of the Contender Series, or is it the debut in front of 20,000 people live plus millions worldwide watching? What's the most nerve-wracking thing?
I think I was more nervous for the Contender Series. I never was like, not for the like fact that people weren't getting knocked out, they weren't getting signed and stuff like that. Because my coach always says, look, you fight your fight. If he doesn't like you, like, we'll just go again, like, and start winning. If you start fighting like how you don't fight and just swinging, there's a chance I could have knocked the guy, but there's a chance he could have knocked me out straight away. So he was like, well, stick the game plan, like how you're going to fight. Then I get caught up in the moment. So I feel like a lot of people go crazy, and it works out, but sometimes it doesn't. So I thought, like, oh, I was definitely more nervous for that. Because I think it was the first big show, my first real test of opponent. I went from people who like losing records to somebody who was, I think he was 5-0 at the time, like all knockouts. But he was the same. The guys he'd fought were like 3-0, good records, but they weren't great as well. So I feel like I was in a similar boat for being tested. And then obviously it's weird, like you're walking out, there's no crowd, stuff like that. It was quite quiet when you walked in. Like I remember waiting for the fight, and like you walk through them big double doors. And when you go through the Apex, there's big double doors, and there's obviously no music. And he like blasted through his, and they were like, get loud bang. And then the person who was walking me out was like, oof. And I was like, oh. So I come through the doors, I was just like, so he like put me through the doors, but I was just like, slowly pushed them open and like walked in. And then he was definitely, I think maybe he's not more nervous, he's definitely been nervous, but he was definitely more like hyped, I feel like, for it. And then well, I originally watched him, he fought his last fight at Southpaw, so I thought, oh, he's a left-hander. We did loads of training for Southpaw, and then when the fight kicked off, he went back like right-handed. So the first couple of seconds, you can hear me coach shouting the other way, like the stance, and I was like, oh, he's right-handed. But he just went crazy. I remember he's got dragged into a little bit of a brawl because he was just going crazy. But I knew you kind of keep that pace up for like, I was ready to go 3 rounds. I think he was just ready for the early finish because he was finishing everybody straight away. And like I said, he definitely could have caught me straight away, knocked us out. He'd have been in the UFC now. But I feel like that style definitely gets found out. So obviously did it right, hit some decent shots and stuff like that. But when I did eventually grapple and get him down, I think he'd like spent himself because he was trying so hard for the finish. While I was probably a little bit more composed than him. And then I think I was there as well for the UFC. I think they really wanted that guy because he'd fought on like I think it's LFA or something. Like it's basically like the American Cage Warrior sort of thing. And so he was coming from that. So probably definitely wanted him because he was all knockouts and stuff like that. So I think I was there really for the guy to lose. I was a massive underdog to lose.
You were an underdog, weren't you? I remember that. Yeah, you were the underdog in that fight.
So I don't think they actually watch your fights too much. They probably just look at your records, match you and stuff like that. They might have seen, they'll have seen the odd one, but I don't think they actually looked into it and thought, oh, he's decent. They just thought, oh, he's got a winning record, we'll put him in there. Or the lad will probably KO him and we'll sign another guy. And then obviously when I beat him and looked like I fought a bit, they must have been like, oh, he's half decent. Then I feel like the UFC are pretty fair. I feel like all the people who win the Contender Series, they sort of match over the Contender Series people. And then I'm guessing they're looking who they can build and who like makes a base out of the Contender Series guys.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got 3 rounds in your UFC debut, which was a first for you, wasn't it? As a pro, anyway. Like, I don't think you'd ever seen a third round. Was it? Did that feel important to get 15 minutes under your belt at that stage? Do you feel like that's like? I look at someone like Ian Gary, who is lighting the place up at the moment. But you look back at his first few fights, there was a couple in there that weren't the most exciting. He went 3 rounds. He got all that time under his belt. Like, do you feel like that's a good thing to do, to get 3 rounds under your belt, gain that experience? Because you're still very young. You've not had that many fights, but you're particularly young for a heavyweight. Do you think that's a good thing to have got 3 rounds under your belt and maybe take the career a bit slowly to begin with?
Yeah, so, well, don't get me wrong, if I'd thrown the first punch and knocked him out, I'd been absolutely buzzing with that.
Yeah.
But I always think it's going to be, I always tell myself it's going to be a really hard fight. It's going to be 3 rounds. It's going to be awful when you're in there. And then hopefully when you're in there, it's a little bit easier than what you expected.
Yeah.
But so I always tell myself, like, I thought Jamal was going to wrestle a lot more and stuff like that. And I thought it was going to be one where I'd be taking us down, I'd be scrambling up and stuff like that. And I feel like when I was moving in there, the kicks maybe took away his movement. And then, like, the positioning sort of, like, helped, like, him not being able to set his takedowns up and stuff like that. But, I think it was good to get 3 rounds in because I felt pretty fit as well. Like, I definitely feel like I'm fit for a heavy guy anyway. But I hadn't do the 3 rounds, so I'm always thinking, oh, imagine if you do just gas really bad. But after doing 3 rounds, I felt like I was comfortable in there and could have done some more. So I definitely think it was maybe in the second round, looking back, I could have pushed the pace a little bit more. Maybe took the second round off a bit. But still in the back of your head, you're like, it's heavyweight. Imagine if he just swung a windmill, knocked us out, like, he'd be buzzing and I'd be gutted. So I still try to switch style, not take too many risks and stuff like that. But it takes 2 guys to fight as well. And I feel like after the calf kicks, he was sort of on the back foot, so he wasn't committing as much, which makes the fight a lot harder for me to, like, set things up.
Yeah.
But it was good 3 rounds. Like I said, I knew he had really fast hands. I knew he was explosive, and I knew he was a really good wrestler. So I think it was a good matchup for us as well. But I thought he was going to wrestle loads more. I thought it was going to be a really, really wrestling match. But obviously, he shot like 1 or 2 takedowns and I defended them pretty well. And I think the leg definitely compromised him quite a lot. But so 3 rounds is probably as good. I would say I can go 3 rounds now, quite comfortable. So, but if it was the first round finish, like I said, the next one, if it's the first punch, I'll be very happy with that as well.
Well, Mick, we know that you travel to Wigan and you train with Tom Aspinall. Ahead of that London debut, how much did you sort of pick Tom's brain as to what to expect from, like, media week and walking out to a huge arena there to support British fighters? Like, did you sort of lean on Tom for advice about the whole experience of it?
So Tom was great. Obviously, I was going down there probably 2 days a week. I go down. Like, I'm away Wednesday, Thursday this week. But yeah, because obviously it was his card really, so I knew he was there. Obviously, he's got a lot more to do than me, media-wise. Like, he's there for hours where I might have half an hour, an hour. But yeah, he told us everything. He was like, "Oh, first thing you do, get there. There's a physio person you can book in. Get booked in with him. You can you get full treatment physio straight away." He told us that. The meals, they make you meals every day, where you go and see them and they give you like a packet of meals, whether breakfast, dinner, tea. But I wouldn't have knew that. They give you loads of supplements, anything you ask for. Like, they've got loads of supplements there. So little things like that I probably wouldn't have knew, where Tom maybe didn't know that the second fight, then he's found out. So I had a lot of things that I probably would have found out later that Tom told us straight away, like, "Oh, do this," and stuff like that. So it's a massive help whenever I got stuck, like, "Oh, who should I talk to about this?" Tom would be like, "Oh, we're going to see them now." And obviously, I love Tom. They're like, he knows everybody there. So it was like perfect for us to know what to expect. Like, he told us everything to expect, what they're like, well, just everything really. It was from the walkouts, everything. He told you, like, "Oh, it's going to be a big crowd," and that. Like, obviously, like, enjoy it as well, like, feel the crowd and stuff like that. It's probably the biggest crowd. He's like, "It is amazing." So it was perfect in that. And even just like on the night time, with Papa Nando's, me, Tom, his team, and like me and my coach and stuff like that. So we had like just very chill the full week, you know what I mean? We had a lot of things planned to do. Went to like the pool some days, like the steam room and stuff like that. So it was very chill. And he helped us loads. He was a massive, massive help for the week.
Fantastic. Very importantly, what is your Nando's order? What's the Nando's order of choice?
I do love the thighs, but I feel like sometimes they're a bit small. So it depends if I'm really hungry. So I'll go half chicken. I like chips, rice, or chips and mash. I like to get 2 little wraps as well and make myself 2 wraps out of it.
And 2 wraps as well. What's
Two
the
little
spice?
wraps.
What's the spice you go for? What?
I like the peri me, the barbecue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, peri tamer. It's a controversial choice, I think, the peri tamer.
Well, I've told people about it. I only knew because my friend used to work there, and he said the peri is mint because it's not actually on the menu, so I thought it was like a bit secret. But I'm starting to convert. I think Tom gets the peri thighs now. It's
okay.
slowly starting to turn people.
See, I'm a half chicken medium spice guy, and I'm just like, I
Medium.
don't know. So I might have to try the peri tamer on your recommendation now.
I love the peri I think it's the best one.
If it's shit, Mick, you will be hearing from me. Okay? I will message you about it.
I hold my hands up.
But yeah, no. More importantly, you've got a fight booked. You are fighting, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name, Chow Machado, on November 18th. So that's like less than a month away now, is it?
I think it was 5 weeks Saturday, so it'll be 4 weeks this Saturday, I think.
4 weeks. So there you go. So November 18th. Look, I'm not going to lie and say I know loads about him. What is it about Chow that you feel like you need to be careful of, and that how do you see your skills matching up for him? What's the pathway to victory for you, without giving away game plan too much, obviously?
I watched him obviously win the Contender Series, and I maybe watched 1 or 2 fights of his earlier fights. He's dangerous because he's quite wild. I don't think he's like how somebody who's a decent boxer. Not that he's a bad boxer, but he swings a lot of big haymakers and stuff like that, which is obviously dangerous for heavyweight. So I feel like, even though I feel like I'm a better striker than him, I'd have to be switched on for the full 3 rounds. And it could end up like a really ugly fight because he's just constantly comes forward with bombs. So I've been working a few things and stuff like that, and I feel like it's a very fair matchup to how I fight to fight him. I think it's a really good matchup for us.
Fantastic. And you're on the undercard of your mate who made the call to the UFC to grab this heavyweight and throw him in the mix. So you're on the undercard of Paul Craig. Will that be good knowing that Paul's out there with you? Yeah,
Paul's great. I think, he actually was out of the Contender Series as well, 2 of his friends in Vegas. So he cornered us in the Contender Series as well. And to be honest, I'm quite chill fight week. My coach usually brings like a Switch, and we usually just play loads of Mario Kart and stuff like that. And we're telling Paul about it, and Paul plays like, have you ever played like the Smash Bros where like all the characters from Nintendo like a little fight? It's quite fun. But Paul was like, "Oh, I'm pretty good at that." We were like, "We're smashing, man, we're mint." But Paul was actually really, really good, and I think he knocked us all on that. We're like, "Ding it."
Oh, brilliant. I actually quite love those games as well. That's great.
Yeah.
I love the idea of you guys just playing Switch before like it leads up to a fight. I think that's awesome. We've just got like a few kind of more like quick fire like questions for you, mate. What I always love to know is what are the jobs that you've done to help either fund yourself fighting up until this point, or what would you see yourself doing if you weren't a fighter now? What would be the job you'd be doing now?
Oh, I don't know. I'm pretty lazy now, so I think it was like hard jobs. I think they're all the same hard works. I do train quite hard, but like these 10-hour, 12-hour shifts would like kill me off, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I thought I've always wanted to do this since I was like got half decent. I was like 2021. I've always wanted to do it, so I haven't even thought. Like I say, I'm pretty chatty, so anything to do with that would probably be I'd be half decent at. But anything like physical hard work, I don't think I'm the man for that.
You'd like to be working from home, doing a few Zoom calls or something. That'd be it.
That's definitely. This job will be perfect. This
is it. Well, you can come and take over from me and Stu at some point when the career's over. But was there no job that you had to do to fund yourself in the early stages of fighting?
I was like quite lucky. I worked like with my friends and stuff like that. But my friend got a job just working the door on the weekends, like just working in pub security, and like I was quite lucky to work at a really nice bar where, like I said, work is very loosely. I work like maybe once, twice a week, if that, the weekend, just to get us by to train. And my bar was really nice where there was not many fights and stuff like that. So it was basically me just standing around talking to other lads or the bar staff. So again, perfect job for us.
Just chatting away.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, Mick, I think I know the answer to this already. Who's the next fighter out the UK that's going to become a UFC world champion?
It's going to be Tom. definitely.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see how it goes with Jones and Stipe, but I don't know. I can't say them fighting for much longer, the two of them. There maybe something might change. They might love fighting, but I just think why do they need to take these really hard fights now? I think most people think, when I've spoken to people, most think that either way they'll probably retire. But Jones might keep about for a little bit while longer now. Obviously, I don't know how he's feeling and stuff like that. But
how do you see
I
that
don't know
fight
what-
going?
Jones and Stipe. I don't know. I really like Stipe, but you can never write Jones off ever.
No.
Like, I know it's heavyweight; it might be a bit different. Obviously, I think Stipe can wrestle a little bit as well, so it might be a bit harder than when he fought like Cyril Gane. But then I would go with Jones. I think, good to me head, I'd have to go with Jones.
Yeah, I actually think Jones will make pretty easy work of it as well. I mean, that sounds horrible, but I just think Stipe's been out for so long, and he's like 42 now. I don't know. I'm not actually a big fan of the fight. I'd much rather see Jones fight Pavlovich than I would fight Stipe. You know, keeps it moving. But as you say, it's very possible that whichever one of them wins, likely being Jones, I'd say, both of them retire, and then Tom might be slipping into a vacant title fight.
I definitely think if that does happen, I think it would have to be Tom and Russian Pavlovich. I think that would make sense the most. But Jones might win and like hang around for a little bit. I don't know. Or Stevie might do the same. You don't know how they're feeling. Both might feel mint still.
Yeah.
But just like when you get on a bit, and Jones has done everything. Fighting these like guys who are coming up who are like so killers. It's like why does he need it? But he might just love fighting. I don't know. You know what I mean? He might just love it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to ask you something that's maybe a little bit cheeky now. I don't want to get you into any trouble, but do you think Cyril Gane slightly ducked Tom? Because in the Paris one, Tom was there, ringside, and Gane could have said his name. He's right there, and he didn't. And from my perspective, I felt like it was a case of him going, well, I know my grappling isn't very good, and I know Tom's grappling is very,
I don't
very
fancy
good.
that one.
That's how I took it. Maybe I'm being unfair to Gane, but that's how I took it. Did you see it that way at all?
I think loads of people would love to see the fight just for how Gane's probably more of the kicker, Tom's more of the boxer. I think the stand-up fight would be like really interesting to watch. But I definitely think in the back of his mind, he openly said he doesn't grapple much and stuff like that. And like a few of my friends were like, he's just saying that for the camera. But I think he's generally just more kickbox. Didn't get us right. I think he's so awkward because the way he moves. I think he's like a nightmare to get hold of. But I do think it's massively favour Tom and the grappling. I think Tom would take them, submit them. So he's probably being smart, like as well, thinking like, why I don't want to, unless he's really smashing his grappling now, and then he's going to hold it off until he's like a better grappler wrestler. But it would be really good to watch. I think loads of people will love it from the strike and stand up, but then Tom might just take him straight away. So I don't know, but I think so. But I don't know who else he fights now. Cyril, with Tom and that Russian, I don't know who he fights.
I think Cyril wants to jump into a fight with Pavlovich, but I think Cyril, he beat Derek Lewis for the interim belt, but then lost to who did he lose to? Ngannou. And then he's lost to Jones. So he's lost two title fights now. I think it should be someone fresh, and I think it should be Tom. But
I definitely agree with Tom, but I also think the Russian should get the Russian should be getting his chance as well, because obviously he's done it well, and so if the Russian guy, it wouldn't be. If Tom will, I'd be absolutely buzzing for Tom. But I feel like the Russian and Tom would be the great fight for them too. I think, and hopefully that was for the belt. That'll be even better.
That's what I think is going to happen. I think that we might see a bit of a double retirement happen, or at least Jones kind of not properly retire, but like vacate, go away for a year or two, see what happens. Because he even said in an interview, Jones, that he's quite excited about what Tom does with his career, so it might bring him back. So I think we might see a vacant title fight between Pavlovich and hopefully Tom. That'd be really, really good.
Jones and the Stewart, he might step away to them like superstars and come back for more money, maybe something like that. Yeah, that would make more sense to him. Maybe he's fighting for like a lot more money, or like a Brock Lesnar type of Brock Lesnar, something come back. He'd probably jump the chance of that, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to ask you, while we're talking about some, all the big boys, Fury and Ngannou, what's happening there?
Unless Ngannou knocks him out straight away with the biggest windmill ever, I don't think anyone's really siding with Ngannou there. Well, Fury's he's another boxer, and Fury's probably arguably one of the best heavyweights ever. So I don't get us wrong, they're getting loads of money. Who wouldn't take the chance? And they're getting loads of money. Like, credit to both of them. Like, you're going to make loads of money, you might as well do it. But I definitely think it favours Tyson Fury massively.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. What's your favorite? Well, I was going to say, what's your favorite post-fight food? But as a heavyweight, do you have to watch your weight much and watch what you eat much, or do you have to eat very healthy and then can you binge afterwards? How does that work as a heavyweight, or are you just eating what you want all the time?
I always try and eat good Monday to Friday. Like, always eat good. Like, I'm pretty boring, like the same thing every day, like porridge, chicken and rice, and then maybe some chicken or steak on the night. And veg, I try and eat decent. I'm like naturally a proper fat guy. If I eat like what normal heavyweights eat, I just blown up straight away. So I try and eat pretty good. If I'm not going to fight, Saturdays, Sundays off. When I'm going to fight, like, I'm not like these little guys. I'm still having like maybe a pizza on a Saturday night after I've finished training and stuff like that. So it's definitely not as strict as while they're killing themselves and on like 2 hard-boiled eggs a day and stuff like that. I don't do that. I still eat loads. I try and eat quite healthy during the week. I just feel better training as well. And then I'm not like, I think at the minute, I'm always close to on weight anyway, like walking about close to on weight. So as long as I'm there, I know worst comes to worst, the week of the fight, I can just cut down. It will come naturally. I don't hot bath or anything like that. I can just eat a little bit better or eat a little bit less during the week, and that usually maxes sit straight on the weight.
Great.
Fantastic.
Lastly, who's the fighter that inspired you when you were growing up? Who were the fighters that you watched? You're like, oh, I want to get into this because of this person.
When I first started watching the UFC, I think like Cain Velasquez, and that was a heavyweight that was like killing everybody. Yeah. So I liked Cain. I liked Gustafsson when he come on, and I also loved Jimmy Manuwa. I remember my first MMA show. I went to Bama, I think, down Nottingham or somewhere. And he was headlining. And when you're a kid, I was 14, 15. Look, and he was like 12 and 0, 13 and 0, all first round knockouts. I was like, oh, he must be good. And he absolutely starched the guy with like a spinning back fist or a head kick or something like that. And I was thinking, oh my God, he's amazing. And that, so I followed him quite close. And obviously, I thought he was like really, really good. And I remember that a Bellator show, I saw him. My friend was fighting on Bellator, and I got to see him. And he seemed like a good guy and stuff like that. So I always liked Jimmy Manuwa growing up as well.
Oh, nice. Love that.
Well, look, Mick, we've took up plenty of your time today, and it's been so kind that you've come on the podcast. We obviously wish you all the best in your upcoming fight, and we'd love after that at some point to have you back on and talk about your fight. And obviously, it's going to be a win. Mick, thanks so much, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, mate.
No worries, guys. Thank you.
We're going to press stop, mate. But don't go anywhere.